Hello and welcome to the first video of my loft layout adventure. This originally was going to be in two parts, but I didn't eventually end up shooting video for the bit before I started working in the loft, so I've only got some stills photographs. So we'll quickly zip through them before we find out where we are at the moment. So this is it was actually a few months ago now. As you can see, the loft is a bit of a mess. You can see the loft hatch there. Lots of beams as well in the roof. And the loft ladder, the blue handle sticking up. I'll be talking about that later on. There's a bit of a close-up. Lots to do, lots of rubbish to clear out. I think in the end I made 10 trips to the tip to get rid of the rubbish, and three carloads went to charity shops as well. So there was a lot of clearing out. Just making space basically. Now, one of the problems I've got with this house, it's not really a problem, it's a semi-detached house, and it's got a hip, it's got a slope roof. Gable end would have been nice, of course, for the extra headroom and the extra space, so it is going to reduce the space quite a bit, but we'll work around that. Hopefully I'm going to extend the track length by making it a bit lower under that main beam there. So opposite the slope part of the roof, we have the partition wall, if you like, between the two houses, and it's not a very pleasant brick wall, as you can see. Obviously it's in the loft, so the brickwork doesn't have to be neat. Built after the war as well, so the materials aren't brilliant. What I decided to do, I think, rather than paint it or anything, I decided to cover it up with plasterboard. You'll be able to see that later. And there's the chimney, which is another attractive feature. So yeah, decided to box all this in with plasterboard right across there to hide the chimney, because I thought if I try to paint over it, it's probably going to end up a bit of a mess, to be honest. Lots and lots of boxes. I'm showing you this view because where that strip light is there, I decided after much deliberation to put a Velux window in, despite the cost. Between the two rafters there, you can see where the strip light just overlaps. And I would recommend it. You'll see it later on, obviously. So my good lady wife has these sayings. She came up with this saying, and when I said there's so much to do before I can even begin to run a train, to even think about running a train, and then she says, "Well, how do you eat an elephant?" The answer is, of course, one bite at a time. So no matter how big the task is, you've just got to do it a little bit at a time. You'll get there eventually. So another reason that I had to re-record this commentary is that when I did it the first time, on the video, I had a cold, and I didn't think it was noticeable, but I'm sniffing every sort of 20-30 seconds, and it doesn't sound very nice, so I thought I'd redo it. I wish I hadn't because of the extra work, but never mind. Here we go. So the loft ladder I actually installed when we just moved into the house many years ago, so it's been there a long time. You can see the progress we've made. Put the Velux window in, and right at the back wall, plasterboarded over the chimney. You know, the chimney breast was a bit of a mess, so the plasterboard goes around the chimney breast. So the rafters have been boarded up with 6mm ply. I was going to use plasterboard, but I thought that's going to add quite a bit of weight. I mean, the roof can take it. Ply is easy. It's also easy to work with, I think. I would recommend using this insulation, by the way. What you should do is, if you're going to board the inside of the roof beams, like I've done with the plywood, you have to leave an air gap on both sides. So there's about it's 1 inch below the rafters on this side, and there's also about an inch or so on the other side between the roof felt and the insulation as well. So you've got an air gap basically on both sides, which has helped the airflow through your roof, and it'll stop you getting condensation. You've got to do that. A big problem of that is the size of the loft hatch. It's only about 800 mils on a diagonal, basically because of the floor joists. Didn't have much of an option of making it any bigger or anything. It's made it difficult to get the boards up to do this, so what I've had to do is cut them into pieces, which makes everything much longer. The ply boards on the rafters here are around about 470 mils, wide, but obviously the house is built, and it's not built to exacting standards, so they're roughly between 430 and 470 mils. Yeah. Also, I had the same problem with the plasterboard over here. I had to cut the plasterboard into 2 feet wide pieces, which it makes it easier to handle, I suppose, but it's just extra work cutting it and filling all the joints in and everything, as you can see. That high level socket I decided, because that was where my workbench was going to be originally on the original plan, but I've changed the plan since then, so I'm going to have to fill that in, move the socket further down, I think. So the plasterboard does make it look much better. Now, I'm not a builder or a joiner by any stretch, so I put this quadrant on to hide all the wobbly lines and the dodgy joints, hides a multitude of sins, gives it a bit of a neater finish. I think I'm going to have problems with this piece where all the roof beams meet. I'll probably just end up boxing it in as best I can. I think it's going to be difficult. As I said, I'm trying to stop dust and creatures as well getting in from outside as much as possible. So the Velux has been in a couple of weeks now. It makes such a difference. I would think if you're thinking about a Velux window for your loft, then and you can afford one, I would recommend it. It suddenly becomes another room. It does make it feel like a room rather than the loft space. Now, I fitted this before on a previous house, but on a previous house we had slate tiles. It was much easier to fit, and this house has pan tiles, and I was a bit wary, not having worked with pan tiles before, so I got a man in basically to do it, but he gave us a pretty good deal. What makes the job so slow is constantly having to move things around. As you say, there's still a lot of junk in the loft, even though, as I said, I've took about 10 carloads to the local tip. We've still got all this stuff. I mean, where are you going to keep your Christmas stuff up here? Oh, we like Halloween in this house as well. It's very big. So we've got stuff, and I've got constantly moving it from side to side as I do the boarding and everything. But what we're going to do is put it in the really useful crates. That's the crates with the blue handles you can see there. And keep it around the edges, basically. That's the plan anyway. Whether it'll actually happen that way, I'm not really sure. Now, to maximise the amount of layout track, what I'm going to do is have it quite low. Obviously, it's going to restrict the back scene. It's going to make it look a bit strange at a very steep angle, but I do want to maximise the amount of running space, the amount of railway. So yeah, where that white spot is on the plywood, that's actually going to be the level of the baseboard in that section. So it's quite low. That's the plan at the moment anyway. Right around the loft. I mean, I could have done it at the same height as that main beam, which a lot of people do, and that makes it comfortable to work on, I think. But so I did want it to maximise the amount of track. We've got about 10 feet across and 12 feet on the sides, so there's about 45 feet possibility of running right round. So what I did with the plasterboard, the plywood, the 6mm plywood, I actually used staples and a nail gun. Nails in nail guns, usually brad nails, are too fine normally that goes through, but staples are great. But you don't knock real nails into your roof beams unless you want all your tiles to come off. Now, it's always quite cold up here at the moment, so I got a maximum and minimum thermometer just to see what the temperature variation was. It's also got a humidity meter on. So you see it's 11.8 degrees at the moment, 49% humidity, which is a little bit humid. I think comfort's around about 40%, the comfortable range. So if I press this button, what will happen is it'll show you the minimum and maximums because it stores them. Okay, so the maximum since last reset was 24.7 degrees, which is quite warm. 61% humidity, which is quite moist, isn't it? Yeah. And the minimum temperature is 7.8, which is really cool, isn't it? 31% humidity. On average, it's probably about 50% humidity. So the loft is actually being boarded since just after we moved in. I used the small loft packs you can get from B&Q and Wicks. They're about 2 foot wide, easy to get through the loft hatch because it's small, and easy to work with as well to cut around shapes. As you can see, I've got some awkward shapes to cut out there with the roof joists and stuff. But when I'm not in the loft, I've been working with AnyRail on the computer to devise a track plan. Nice bit of software. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I think it's good value for the money as well. And I think I'm up to version 22 of my track plan now, which I will show you eventually. Every time I change it, I save a new version just in case I want to go back. So lots to do. That's just about it for the first one. I will be running DCC, by the way. I'm sure people need to know that. I think it's a fabulous system. And hopefully we can talk about that next time. And if you want to leave a comment, please do. Raining as usual. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.